Welcome to Trail Manners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for Trail Manners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails. Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the Trail Manners Podcast, episode number 118. Today we're going to be talking again with Mr. Harrison Fluman in his training for the Bigfoot 200 this year. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Trail Manners Podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Trail Manners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. All right, welcome back to another edition of the Trail Manners Podcast. Today it's just Eric Manning here with our special guest. It's Harrison Fluman.
It is Fluman, yes.
Is our guest. And so when I was recording the intro, I said Harrison Martin, and which to most people would mean Eric screwed up. But it's World Cup time. It's World Cup fever. And Harrison Martin was actually my college soccer coach in Oregon. He was like 5 foot. He's from Burma. I called him my little Monchichi doll, those of you that know what one of those are. But it was crazy because I recorded the intro, and Harrison looks at me and goes, that sounded really good except you got my last name wrong. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm your friend. You've been giving me gin tonight.
That's true.
And I'm like, what did I say?
I hesitated to bring it up. I didn't want to make you feel bad. Well, I was just going to go with it.
I haven't said Harrison Martin for 10-plus years probably. It was my college soccer coach in 19. I'm going to date myself,
you should
so
give him
apologize.
A call. See how he's doing.
1990. He owned a soccer shop, what was it called? The Soccer Corner, I think was what it was called. It was right down the street from campus, and I actually worked part-time in his soccer shop. Funny story, true story. I'm totally living my life now. It's all the gin you've been giving me.
That's right. So
I used to work in the soccer shop, and I'd work usually from like 3 to 6 after classes were over during the off-season, so we weren't training. And every day, a guy would walk by the window and wave, right? And it's a big, huge pane glass window. It was on Burnside Ave, East Burnside. And I'd wave back and everything. And this went on for months, literally. And one day, my coach was in there, who was actually my boss as well, and he saw me do that. And he goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, I was just waving at that guy. He goes, that guy's blind.
Oh, my God.
And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, he goes by every day, but he's blind, so he can't tell if you wave back or not.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, well, how weird is that? So the very next time he came by, I actually opened the door and kind of said, hey, excuse me. And he's like, yes. And I said, I just want you to know. And I told him the story, and he giggled.
That's
and he
funny.
goes, that's why I do it. He goes, I never know if people wave back. He goes,
That's
I don't even
awesome.
know if you're even in the building. But he wasn't like completely like Mr. Magoo. He was like more Mr. Magoo blind, right, where he could kind of still see, but he thought it was funny.
That's funny.
And I looked at him like, you a-hole. You made me feel silly. But no, it's funny. Anyway.
It's making you feel bad.
So we're here to talk about running, though.
Yes.
Because you're a huge soccer guy. Who's your pick for the World Cup?
Oh, Germany. See, I followed a little bit.
Okay, good.
They're out, right? That was a big upset.
Yeah, that was.
Switzerland got through, right?
They're playing in the round of 16. They'll already play by the time this show launches.
Oh, man.
So they play Sweden. I like their chances.
It could be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you got? Okay. Well, don't say Portugal.
Mexico got through, right?
They're playing Brazil.
I got you.
Yeah, before this show launches, but haven't played yet.
So I have, 3 of the 16?
Yeah. But Spain's out.
I saw that.
Yeah, so a lot of the big guns are out. So this opens, like if you look at one side of the bracket, it totally opens it up for England.
Right.
Totally, to get to the final.
Which is good or bad, depending if you like them.
If you like fish and chips, you're in the money.
Right, exactly.
Because I correlate, I'm a huge soccer guy, but a lot of the countries I correlate around food, because that's just me.
I would not pick England then.
Yeah.
I was in London once.
Not a fan?
I don't know.
I've never been to London.
Yeah.
I'm an Arsenal fan, so that's kind of why I like England, but
There
they
you
don't
go.
have a lot of Arsenal players on the team, so screw them.
Torn.
Yeah.
I understand.
On the other side of the bracket, it's been fantastic.
Yes.
And France made it through.
Here we go.
They're looking good right now.
As they should.
As they should, right? They have French fries, French toast, French bread. Man, they got it all.
Exactly.
And they're really friendly culture, right?
Yeah, I think.
Everybody says French are so mean. Never been to France, so I don't know that one.
They deserve it, to get through this round of 16. At least that's
they're
the
in
way
the
I thought.
quarters
Yes.
now. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Belgium, they're looking good. They haven't played the round of 16 by the time this show launches, but they're looking good.
I do know that one of you two picked Egypt in their group, and I don't think they got through.
I picked here's my thing. I didn't pick Egypt. I said if Mo Salah plays, I like
a very
their
good
chances.
player on that team.
He
I
is,
assume.
but he didn't play the first game, and I think if he had played the first game, they'd have made it through. But he was their best player. But they didn't play well, so they're out of it.
Okay.
But I have done some good
Did
picks.
Croatia get through? I've been to Croatia.
Yeah, actually, as we're recording this show, it's a Sunday. They actually made it through on penalty kicks today. They
that's
beat
cool.
Denmark.
Oh,
I was rooting
I've
for
never been
Denmark,
there.
but I picked Croatia because they have a better midfield.
Yeah,
But
as you would.
But I've had some good picks this tournament, and I have some. I have a zinger that's coming out on Thursday for our single track session that I picked early on that actually was craziness, and I'll bring that if I haven't already brought it. I don't even know where I'm at right now.
That's all right.
But yeah, let's jump to you. Enough about this silly World Cup soccer stuff that I'm so passionate and sad that it's over halfway out. So we had you on episode 113. And as we discussed then, we're gonna have you on 3 times. So we had you on once, 2 is today. We'll have you one more time right before Bigfoot 200, and then we're gonna get you on after Bigfoot 200.
Okay.
So a lot of what this is 200s are getting more and more popular. They're really growing. A lot of interest and intrigue. Me and Joel have been super interested in the concept of it. I don't know running wise. I'm not that far yet. But we thought, it'd be fun to get somebody on the show that's never run a 200 because we've had Phil Lowry on, Sylvia Greer on, people that have just done really well at 200s, Ben Light. So we thought, let's get someone that's never run one and follow their journey because I'm all about following people, stalking, whatever you want to say. So we had a really good one. We talked about your backstory, your running history, how you got into running, a little bit about yourself. So if you haven't listened to episode 113, it's our first one with Harrison, I recommend you go back to that, just kind of get a little bit of background there. But August 10th, you're taking on the Bigfoot 200.
Yes.
So that's 200 miles.
Yes.
At one time. Yeah, at one time. And so the longest you've gone in one push is 100.
Yeah.
So,
100 and some change, whatever that.
Which one?
What was that?
I'm Tough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably 108.
Yeah, that's kind of the question mark, right? So this is going to be a little bit different. So for our listeners out there that aren't as familiar with it, I know a lot of people are, but I brought some stats today, some race descriptions. So here's a little bit, and we'll start here. So it's August 10th. It's 206.5 miles officially, according to the website. Some of these numbers, I might giggle, and it's not in any way, shape, just it baffles me.
That's okay. You may know more about this race than I do at this point, but keep
well, that's
going.
why we're here.
Right.
Education.
Yeah.
So the cutoff time is 105 hours.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm giggling already. That's 4 days and 5 hours. That's your cutoff time.
I hope that, if that's,
And I can't tell you how many times we've had guests on this show that talk about chasing cutoffs in races. And this is a cutoff that I 105 hours. 4 days and 5 hours. That's
a long time.
That's a very long time. Yep. Closest cities: Cougar, Washington, and Randall, Washington.
Yes.
So I like the sound of that. You're up in the Pacific Northwest. 150 runners. Elevation: you're looking at approximately. I've seen 2 different things here on 2 different websites, but I'm going to go with this one: 42,000 feet of ascent and 46,000 feet of descent.
Okay.
So
downhill all the way.
Yeah, so you're looking at elevation change, almost 90,000 feet overall of elevation change, which seems like a lot.
It does seem like a lot.
Numbers. Like if I had $90,000,
that's a lot.
That'd be pretty.
For me,
pumped.
it is. Yeah.
It's a lot for me. I don't know if I've made that in my lifetime. Podcasting's not lucrative. The train, single track, 187.5 miles of single track. That is ridiculous. You're grinning ear to ear, and that's where I would be pretty pumped. There is 4x4 road and dirt roads. There's only 6 miles. Now, this seems like a lot to me, and
Okay.
it makes me sad a little bit. 13 miles of paved road.
That's where you really hammer it, though.
I can't.
With the road, you just...
But you figure 206 miles, and only 13 of it is on...
That's pretty impressive,
That
honestly.
is really... No, that's what I'm saying. Like, normally I'd look at that and go, ugh. Like, I had to run around the Twisted Forks 64K just yesterday, and there was a little bit on the black stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't care for that at all, mentally.
I'm surprised you crossed it. Did you run on the side of the road?
I did, and when I could, when there's a place I could run, I did. I actually got hit by some sprinklers at one point because they were on, and I'm like, I just don't even care.
I'm surprised you just didn't turn around and, no, this isn't
Well, it's
working.
a start.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the first...
That's a short one, then.
Yeah, first maybe
just
mile.
Call it.
Yeah, is that, and then you hit mile 14, though, and you go on a dirt road. I didn't know that was there. I didn't look at the course. I'm not a huge fan of that stuff. But it was a good race. Anyway, so that's a terrain. Here's the race description. I pulled this directly from their website.
You read the whole thing?
Huh?
Like the whole thing?
It's like 5 sentences or 6 or 7. Depends on the font. The Bigfoot 200 is a point-to-point exploration of the Cascade Mountains in Washington State. Runners will explore such varied terrain as the otherworldly volcanic Mount St. Helens that erupted in 1980, long mountaintop ridgelines with stunning forest, mountain, and lake views, deep old-growth forest as green as thick as a rainforest, misty mountaintops, cross countless streams and rivers, and finally along ridgelines to Randall, Washington, north of Mount Adams, on their way to completing this massive, life-changing event. They might even see a Bigfoot or two. It's been known to happen in these parts.
Banking on.
Man,
that's what excites me, that last sentence.
If they could give me 60+% or higher guarantee on that, I would do the race.
Well, I would think, late in the race you might
see him on accident.
Just
like,
what.
Check it out, bear hug me, bud. Big Wookie. But that sounds really cool, though. Like, all that stuff, Mount St. Helens, rainforest type look. Yeah. That's my jam.
No, I think, we talked about, I think the last time, as far as, aside from the whole 200 aspect, this is the only one of those, of the 3 races that she does that I would consider doing.
And when you say she, we mean Candace Burt.
Yeah.
And the other 3, we're talking Tahoe and Moab.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the course description, the way you read it, out of those 3 races, I am doing it because it's the 200, but I don't think I would really have the desire to do the other 2.
I would have no desire. If I did 200, this would be the one I would do.
Yeah. That's kind of the way I looked at it. Yep.
And really, this description is a huge sales pitch for me. Like, when I'm ready to sell my 2010 Dodge Nitro that's up for sale, that I'm upside down in, I will have them write my ad for that, because this is really...
Let's do some creative selling techniques.
Yeah. And I think they could do it.
Yes.
Because this is awesome.
Trade that for a race entry.
Easy. There's 6... Now, this is the part that's a little foreign to me, so bear with me. It says there's 6 sleep stations.
That's appealing.
With full aid, hot food, medical, and crew access. So you're having 6 sleep stations.
Yes.
That sounds nice. And we'll touch on that later in the podcast. And then there's 14 full aid stations with hot food, medical, and more. So there's a little brief, synopsis of what the Bigfoot 200 is for those that aren't aware. And I'll tell you what, I've had you on the show. I've had other guests on the show, but when I did kind of look over this, it kind of put it in a little bit more perspective for me, just because of the distance. To be honest with you, I thought there'd be more climbing over 200 miles.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not as bad as I would have thought, right? I'm thinking, average mountainous course, 20,000 or 25.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. But I think just still at 200 miles, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be hard, right?
That's what I'm anticipating. So
you're anticipating it to be hard?
Difficulty, yes.
They should have a difficulty rating, which I didn't find on the website.
No.
Like 1 to 5 stars, like mall walkers, probably not. Something like that.
That's a 1.
Yeah, that's a 1, not like a half star. Maybe they need we need a Yelp website for races.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't that be cool?
I think there's star ratings like an Ultra, like the Ultra magazine, Ultra Running.
Yeah, they need
put
Yelp,
some stars on
an
there.
app.
Yeah.
It's just Yelp, where people can comment, too, so you can read stuff on there. That'd be really cool. So that's my idea, folks. Anyone wants to get with me with that, just go ahead and email me. We'll make that lucrative and just retire early. Here's some other information. Course records. This is, again, some stuff I may giggle at. The men's both records were set in 2017, because I believe this is the 4th year for this race. by looking at some numbers.
I believe so.
So Jason Kinsella for the men, his course record is 55 hours and 49 minutes.
I think that's a pretty significant gap between that and the second.
Oh, the second place?
Yeah. I think that's, to me that's fast. That's
55 hours on you're that's like almost half of what your cutoff time is. Cutoff's 105 hours. So 55 hours, 49 for the men. The women's course record is Van Fan, 72 hours and 22 minutes is the women's course record.
Yeah.
Both set in 2017. A little more stats. 2017, there were 78 finishers, 31 DNFs, and, of course, we mentioned the winning time was 55:49, but the last person to crossed in 1:04:39, so had 21 minutes to spare.
Right. Imagine that, though. Imagine you were close, because I've had the experience a little bit with, pacing a few folks that are close to that cutoff for 100, and that's stressful, even as the pacer, incredibly stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Because you see all that effort and you've been with them for so long, and it's just the idea that they're not gonna officially get it. I can't imagine that amount of time if you miss that cutoff.
Okay, I couldn't imagine you're out there for
4 days of your life.
Yeah, that you miss.
You may have missed it by a couple.
Can you imagine though? Think of 21 minutes over the course of 200 miles or 106, 105 hours. That's 21 minutes.
Crazy.
That's enough to really make you push to the finish, right? As best you could at that point. So that's pretty phenomenal. That blows my mind. They must have taken like all 6 sleep stations and like got their money worth.
They did get their money's worth. That's a good way to think of it.
It's like, I got 105. Yeah, I'm gonna get every ounce I can get out of it. That's like a lot, and because the race entry for this can be anywhere from $795 to $1,150.
Yes.
So over 200 miles, that's a few bucks a mile.
It is.
$4 to $5 to $6 a mile. Anywhere from $4 to $6 a mile.
I've never done that math.
I'm doing the quick math,
right?
And you're giving me some gin and San Pellegrino.
Yeah. A little hybrid.
It is. It's a hybrid, and it's working because
it is.
I'm still kind of recovered from my race that whooped me yesterday. So let's get back to it. So last time we talked to you, we got a little bit of your, thought about the race itself. So we'll talk a little bit about it because it's been a few weeks since we talked to you. You're training obviously more. The race is getting closer, and from what it sounds like, talking to you and Brian, your crew and pacers look to be more solidified now.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I know I wasn't as nervous because I don't know, I'm oblivious, and I'm honestly doing kind of the easy part, although it's be very, very hard. But I can't imagine the logistics of crewing it and trying to pace it and all that stuff. So, to me, I'm kind of lucky in the fact I just get to go and expect that people show up where they're supposed to show up. And
are you leaving that to Brian then? Or are you saying, hey, you take? I'll be from 1 to mile 200. Anything that happens in between.
Yeah, I think when we get a little bit closer, we'll try to figure out, I guess, somehow how to time, some of the, because with the 100, I'm pretty, and with the races I've ran before, I kind of know my body and how I'm going to be. Like for the any other 100 I've done, so you kind of know, and if you know the course and how you normally run, you can kind of guess when you're going to be at certain places. I don't have any clue.
See, that was one of my
Truly,
questions.
I don't have any clue, and I think I'll have to go through the actual course and see what makes sense. I think it might be. That's why I say it's easier to run. I think it's probably going to be a lot of waiting for those guys, at least more than normal.
Well, I've seen, like myself, but I've seen you have like your pace chart. Hey, I'll be at this aid station between this and this time. This is my A goal.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking is maybe something like the 200. Are you looking at it maybe like at some point? I mean, you're there at the race, and they're there. That's their job, right? They're coming up just for the crew and the pace part.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, I'll roll through maybe the first 50 miles. This might be where I'm at. And after that, it might just be a waiting game for them as far as, okay, he made it here in this time. This is how he feels. This is what the next section's like. So maybe in 2 hours he'll be at this next one. So it's kind of It seems like a 200 to me. I've never been involved with one on any level. Would be more of a just play it by ear, as you go. You have your idea of like, hey, my pacer will be at mile whatever, to whatever, but when they need to be there, it's just kind of depending on how you're feeling, right?
Yeah, and I'm not so worried about the pacing aspect of it. It's more the crewing aspect of it. So I'll probably go through the same way I do 100, and I'll base it off of elevation and kind of effort based on what maybe the pace will be, and kind of do a guess. But at least for me, assuming that this is what they'll want to do, we haven't really talked about it, but I know I can pick up a pacer at mile 46. So I have 160 miles of pacing opportunity for these three individuals. So
it's plenty of room for some miles.
Yeah. So, and I know Jeremy. So our kind of crew and pacer, it's Brian, obviously, Debbie Farka, and Jeremy Sawinski.
Okay.
So really, when I talked to Jeremy about it, this is at Buffalo. In March?
Yeah.
Basically, he's kind of, how many miles can I go?
Yeah, I was there for that conversation. It was pretty funny because he paced at 200 before.
Yeah, he paced Bob, I think.
180 miles or some crazy number.
In Tahoe. So basically, the max amount he could have done in Tahoe, he did. So he's pretty, seems to be pretty pumped. And actually, another side story, I actually saw Seth, Amy, and Jeremy at the airport on Monday when they're coming back from Western States.
Oh, that's right.
So, I talked to him real quick, but yeah, so I'm relieved that he's going, because that only got shored up maybe,
last week
or so ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, week and a half. Because I think with two people, with Breen and Debbie, God, they've just gotten worked. Well, as far as it's just no one would be able to sleep.
Well, it's like 4 days.
Yeah.
Right? And you have 2 to even 3 people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's crewing, pacing, when you're going to sleep, because you got to figure you're going to have at least one person with you, at least 2,
right,
for the driving, the prep, the sleep. So that does make things a little different than like a normal 100.
And I think with 3 people, it'll be a whole lot better for them.
Yeah, for
just
sure.
So you don't have, if you only have 2 people, I just wouldn't foresee them being able to sleep at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically either driving, getting to an aid station, or you're running.
Now, have you looked at the course much, like far as the driving goes? I mean, is it a course that looks pretty crew-friendly, like point-to-point?
It looks
or is
like there's a decent amount of access.
Okay.
I've looked at the course a little bit as far as, obviously, I had to get the lodging and all that. So it seems pretty kind of crew-friendly. And I did actually listen to your podcast with Phil again. Actually finished it up today. So just to get a little bit better feel. And it was entertaining, so I wanted to listen to it again. But so that got me a better kind of mindset as to what I was getting into, or at least a refresher, you could say.
Well, because when I think of crewing, because I've crewed quite a few times, there's 2 realms for me. There's crewing at the Bear 100, and again, remind me everybody where I'm at. I'm in Utah. You have crewing for the Bear 100, which is super simple to crew.
Yeah,
it's like sometimes 10 minutes between aid stations on a drive.
Yep.
So that's one spectrum. And then the other one to me that's a bugger to crew is Western States, because I've done that, and you could drive hours before you get to the next aid station because of how the course is laid out. And I know there's plenty out in the world, but that's where I look at those. So I'm just curious on the Bigfoot if it's, they're driving a half hour between aid stations, or maybe it's a long way around.
I do know, like, from the start, because I was looking at lodging and looking at the logistics of at least that. Because we've got some things going on before and after the race, so we've got to kind of get in.
You've got
into
Pearl
that.
Jam,
before,
and Jack White after.
Yes,
so 2 concerts in Seattle.
So there's some pressure for the Jack White one as far as my finishing time goes. But we fly in on the 8th. I think it's a Wednesday. So Pearl Jam that night in Seattle, and the races. I think Debbie and Jeremy were flying in the Thursday. So I'm assuming you got to check in and all that on Thursday, and then the race starts Friday.
Yeah. And you got 4 days. So Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday,
Tuesday if we have to. Tuesday. But Jack White's on Monday, so
you got to hurry.
Brian's gonna be pissed if I.
She'll say, you know what, we're going to the concert.
Right.
Have
you can finish
video
this. Yeah.
You've got it now. We've
you
helped
can
you
do
this far.
You've been out here for a while.
We've done enough for you. Can you do this on your own now?
Yeah, I wouldn't blame them though if they did.
So where are you staying? I mean, where do you stay for this race?
We are staying at. God, I'm gonna get it wrong because you've been feeding me drinks. I believe we stay at the Finish.
Is that Randall?
It's one of
Cougar?
the 2 that you mentioned. Yeah, so a lot of prep work.
Cougar's just a cool name for a town.
Yeah, I'm staying at I guess like an Airbnb type thing. Okay. So we had a house.
Okay.
At the location that they recommended we stay, which I'm assuming is the Finish. one of those two towns that you just mentioned.
Okay.
So I got it that far.
So you're pretty dialed in for this race, right?
You can tell. You're great. Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, listening to the Phil that podcast kind of made me think that I'm not really
ready.
Yeah, no.
Well,
like training wise, I'm fine.
You seem to be a planner for me, like a planner, right?
I do, but
like
I put
me.
it off.
Well, I was going to say it's. I mean, I know it's not. It's. I got a month left. It's July 1st.
I got a full month of training left, basically.
So yeah,
which I'm pretty pumped. I mean, I'm where I want to be.
Okay,
so that's good. But no, I mean,
you just don't know where the race is.
I know enough that I booked the room or booked the house. That's about
I know
it.
I entered. I'm on the entrance list.
Hope to God or somebody took my money and I need that money back.
If I'm not running, can I have that now?
Jesus,
this isn't the course you want to bandit, right?
No, it'd be pretty. It'd be a long bandit race with no
aid.
No
Can I sleep here? Nope, you've got a bib.
Get the hell out.
So crew and pacers,
super prepared
there. Right. So you're kind of locked in there. You got a place to stay.
Yes.
You have concert tickets.
That was the main thing.
Yeah, but there's a race in between the concerts,
right.
and it just happens to be 200 miles.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how far is the race from Seattle then?
It is about a little over 2 hours.
Okay. So you'll be fresh as a daisy.
Absolutely.
Hitting Jack White.
See, I've planned this out at least. I don't plan the race at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm hopeful, with this 70-ish hours finish.
That's what you're shooting for.
Yeah, so 70 hours would be fairly early in the morning on Monday.
Okay.
Right? So, they just chuck me in the car. I mean, if this goes to plan.
Will you clean
it might
up
not
first
go to plan. I don't know. I'll just be like a heap, like a dead body in a garbage bag or something.
Throw some Crocs or some flip-flops.
Yeah. Jesus, the general mission show, too. I'm going to die.
I'll just stand here.
Yeah, just I'll slump in the back. So I finished that morning with and that's sad that this is what I've mapped out. I haven't mapped out the race at all. Drive to Seattle, stay in Seattle with that concert that night. I feel like I've got about a 7-hour buffer of play leeway there.
Oh, that's better than 21 minutes.
Yeah,
right. So you're pretty good there.
And the funny thing, because Debbie was trying to lock down flights and stuff, and she's like, "Well, she was texting myself and Brian. Well, I think I'm gonna, because I asked her if she wanted Jack White tickets because we'll buy them for her. And she's like, "Well, I was thinking about leaving on Monday." I'm like, if things don't go well, this is a long race. I will still be out there. You can leave, I guess, but you're going to have to get an Uber back to the airport because we're still going to be out there.
It's only a 2-hour Uber, hour and a half Uber.
So it kind of put in perspective the length of time that
I think
you could be out there.
And to me, and I don't know, this is just for me speaking, but until you've done a 200-mile in any capacity, and I mean by crew, pace, run, I don't think you can put your head around what it is. Right, because I know we've talked to people on the show that have done this, and so fortunately for me, I've had conversations with people, you preparing for it, but every time I read the numbers, I giggle because it still does not make sense to me. No,
I think that's probably a coping mechanism that I've been doing, because maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I had a little moment of clarity that I wanted to stuff down, not experience that again, where you kind of look at those numbers and you think about it for a little bit. And he kind of panicked a little bit to think about the magnitude of what kind of distance that is, and I stuffed that down like I do, with emotions and whatnot. So that was buried deep inside me.
Where's the bottle?
Yeah, it's right next to me. But yeah, you're right. It's a long time, and I had a little moment of a little bit. Wow, am I? I know that I think I'm going to be ready for it, but am I really going to be ready for it? So.
Well, it seems like there's a point, and again, fortunate being able to talk to so many people on the podcast and going back, and things pop up in my head, being with and talking with Scott Jaime at times when he was doing the Colorado Trail, right? He was basically saying after a certain, and that's 450 miles, and he did an FKT years ago that's been broken, but he said after a few days, your body just kind of starts to get used to it, right? Yeah. And so I'm thinking that the 200 is kind of that, right? I'm not. It's got to be difficult, but it seems to me, just like a lot of these races, it's so mental. Yeah. Because it's 200 miles for everybody. I still don't understand how you train for 200 miles.
Yeah,
right.
It's a good. I wanted to talk about that because listening to Phil's podcast again, it's a good. juxtaposition between the way he runs and how many races he runs versus what I'm doing. I don't know how you train for it.
Yeah.
I don't see the benefit of me running a 100-miler before this because I'm going to be super tired and
you're out for 2 weeks before you can get
right.
some good training in again.
What does that really do for me? Because I've run 100-milers. I don't know how that really helps me for a 200.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I justified it. I mean, I'm not racing beforehand. I just don't see the point because the pace at which I'm going is going to be, hopefully, if I'm smart, so much slower for just a long period of time, and I just don't know. You just don't know how your body's going to react.
Yeah.
And hopefully, with the way the bear went last year, that slower pace seemed to work out well, and I'm just banking on hopefully that be able to double that. Really, so I don't know how you really, to your point, train for it until you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be some base level of fitness
you go in
that you have to have, but at some point it's just a really long ways and see how your body goes with it,
Well, and even talking to people on the podcast that have done 200s, these aid stations we're talking about, I mean, they're full service menu aids. They're hamburgers, hot dogs, pastas, not soups and broths and potatoes.
God, those shitty potatoes. I can't. Do you eat those?
No.
Like the potatoes with the salt? Because I was listening to some other podcasts, and I don't know, you guys are talking about food that you guys eat. And God, who in the sorry, I can't say the F word on this podcast. There's a star rating or something.
Something like that.
Keep your 5-star. Who in the hell eats those?
Well, it's funny you say that because me and Joel ran the Twisted Fork 64K yesterday.
He was probably crushing potatoes and salt.
He said he had some potatoes the first couple, and then he said it did something to my stomach.
Yeah, because it's cold potatoes and salt. Who in the shit eats those?
I think a lot of people do.
Oh, and you see them break them out of the can. Like there's this can, and there's this disgusting juice in it.
I wouldn't.
I can't do it.
I think a lot of them now, like even ones yesterday, I think they were like the small creamies that are boiled that they probably did like the day before or something. Oh, God. Because they looked like I could eat them home for dinner, right? But when I race, I don't know. Maybe there's a time and place. Maybe there comes a point. One point you're like,
you just say, "Screw it."
Hell? I need something.
You only live once, and see what happens.
It's only a 200 miler.
If you can eat potatoes, and I'm trying not to say potatoes like I wouldn't because I have this weird Pennsylvania accent. If you can eat potatoes and salt, I mean, you can stomach anything. So you should be probably trying something else that actually tastes good.
I think I'm going to start running with little teeny bottles of Cholula sauce.
Oh my God.
Because I think I could do that. But even a shorter race, Joel said he had first 2 aid stations with potatoes. He tried them, and he's like, it didn't sit good in my stomach.
That's weird. It's weird.
So, and I didn't try
cold potatoes wouldn't sit well.
I've had cold potatoes. Oh, one time doing Wasatch, they had hash browns.
Okay, that's a little better.
But they were cold. He gave them to me, and they were the frozen ones.
Nope.
Yeah, but they were supposedly cooked.
That's a good way to clear out your stomach.
Yeah, it didn't
do the
help
Tom
me.
Remkus and keep going.
Because I took a bite of it, and I'm like, the outside was lukewarm, the inside was very frozen.
Oh
still.
My God!
And so I haven't touched a potato during a race in a long time.
I think I did that maybe my first 100 or so because that's what you were told that that's what they have and that's what you should do. No,
I know a lot of people that I shouldn't say no. I've heard people that do it. Now, obviously, people must because they're at aid stations, or maybe it's just one of those mythical creatures,
right?
That
like
everybody,
a Bigfoot,
that everybody. No, don't let unicorns. Yeah, I
yes.
still believe in Bigfoot, and I'm ready to do.
Have you read those books, by the way? Did you read
them? Some of it. I'm waiting for my daughter to finish them up because she was reading it right when we got home, and I just could hear her giggling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Are you reading those books?" She's like, "Yeah, Dad." I'm like, "Well, wait for Dad." But yeah, so it could be because you look at aid stations. I did this yesterday at my race. Swedish fish, M&Ms, avocado, potato chips, peanut butter and jelly. It's just like at some point, it's almost like there was
a committee that got together to get the same food. This is what we should
the race fair because you pretty much see 90% of the stuff. Every once in a while, you'll get a race that throws a curveball, right? That does, and pierogies have been coming on strong here anyway.
Pierogies?
But every once in a while, and there's watermelon and oranges and bananas.
That's good.
But every once in a while, you'll have that curveball that someone does, and you're like, genius. I remember the first year I ran the Pocatello 50. This was a long time ago, before it is what it is today. At an aid station, they had ramen soup with garlic mashed potatoes mixed.
Yeah.
Undeniably greatest thing I've ever eaten in a race. I've tried it at home. Not so good.
No.
But it was just different. But it just seems like there is this unwritten rule of aid station fare. right?
No, I agree.
Because even I was talking to somebody during the race, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I could eat a Swedish fish. I haven't tried that yet. And I'm like, I've tried it once, and that's all I needed.
Yeah.
I can eat them at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I've eaten them on training runs and stuff like
but
that.
But in a race, it wrecks me.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing with this race is people eat. I think it was Ben Light. He's like, that race, I remember I had 8 hamburgers.
Yeah, Phil talked about that too.
Yeah, maybe it was Phil. I can't remember. I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful that, because the thing is, you can't not, you have to be consistent with calorie intake, whatever you're eating, because it's just not
days.
humanly possible to function.
Well,
so,
and you're moving slow enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm hopeful of.
So I think that's where it's all these, how do you train for a 200 still? It's like, I think they're still so new, 3 years in, whatever it is, and I think they're still so new, and everybody still is different, but I don't know if there's a wrong way to train, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just whatever you're comfortable with, and especially if it's your first one like yourself, it's like, this is what I'm doing. It's either going to work or it's not going to work.
You can't really, in my mind, you can't, I'm not going to overanalyze it. It's definitely an experiment that not going to know if it's working until it doesn't work. But even then, it's such a long distance, how can you really pin it to, well, I should have done whatever.
If I'd have done more tempo runs.
Yeah, I could have got on the track more, it would have been fine.
Hill repeats would have crushed it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have a plan, I guess. I'm doing what I'm doing. Whether it's the right thing to do, I don't know.
So let me ask you that. Are you training any differently for this than you have for 100 milers in the past? Are you doing anything different?
I am. So, I mean, it's going to sound super boring, but I've been doing a lot of Malin's repeats, which is probably very, very boring to most people. But regardless of whether it was that or a different trail or whatever it is, I am going a lot slower. So
is it consciously making yourself go slower?
Making myself go slower, staying out for longer periods of time, and really just hiking more.
Okay.
Because, I don't know the stats where I'm looking at your cheat sheet, but 42,000 feet or 46,000 feet of whatever it is, gain and descent.
42 gain, 46 descent.
Yeah, so by the pace being so slow, I'm envisioning obviously more hiking and walking.
Yeah.
So I don't see really the point of doing what I normally do, which is probably run too fast.
Yeah.
For any sort of, 100 mile
you
or whatever.
Save it for the last 20 miles.
The track. That's where the track workouts are going to.
You save it and get your marathon PR at the last 26.
Yep. So I don't know. I mean, whether I am consciously doing something different. Whether that's going to pay off, I don't know.
So are you keeping track of anything? Like right now, are you trying to do mileage a week, elevation, time?
I'm trying to do it more on time. So I've got a month left, so I'll purposely try to increase it a little bit on time on my feet. But it's been averaging pretty similar week to week. As the weeks have progressed, the mileage has stayed the same. The climbing has gone up. So I'm assuming I'm out there more because it's slower miles. So, with the month left, we'll see how it goes. I'm probably just going to ramp up more of the climbing.
Taper up. Yep.
Yeah.
Heard about
but I mean,
that.
I can't. I'm not. In a perfect place, but I'm pretty satisfied for how it's gone. With life and everything else you got to deal with, I'm pretty satisfied as to where I'm at.
Well, and it seems that way. It seems like you always hear people for any race distance. I don't care if it's a marathon, 100 miler, but it's always like, oh, when do I have time to train? Being an adult, having a job, having a family, having a partner, whatever it might be. It's like, how do I find that time? And then now you're talking about a 200 miler and trying to get more time on your feet. So you got to shuffle that a little bit.
Yeah, get a little creative. And we talked about this earlier. I don't probably put in the long miles that most people do, or seems to be more of the norm. And that's on purpose, just because I want to be able to function in my daily life.
Yeah.
I have a job, obviously. I'm getting my MBA.
You're in the NBA?
In the NBA.
Oh, sweet.
I've got I signed with the Lakers. Wasn't that LeBron?
LeBron signed
today.
today.
It was today, yeah. See?
He's making a few bucks.
Yeah, I think he deserves it. So there's, I kind of can respect people that can put in the long miles. I just not really my thing. I do put in a good amount of time. It's just I don't want to be so tired that I can't function elsewhere.
Well, because it is a huge commitment. You should, like you said, you're a little over a month out. You've already been doing the training, and you just got back from Northern California, Santa Cruz, just for vacation.
Yep.
Run a little bit. Is that like you're not racing? You don't have a race before Bigfoot. Are you looking at like any type of long run, like consecutively? Like, are you looking to go out to do like a 50-mile training run or a 40-mile training run? Or
I'll probably I won't do anything different than I do for 100 other than being slower. So I don't think the mileage is going to be 40, 50. I don't know if that's. I think that would put me out for too long. So I'll probably do 30, 35, something, and maybe do a back-to-back.
But you also cross-train too, right? You do weights, you do yoga, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I do
Twister.
Yeah. It's a family. We just do here in the front living room.
I do Twister from Craigslist. It's different.
Yeah, that would be different. It involves money and compromising, positions and whatnot. Yeah, cross-training wise, so I used to go to Bomber with Joel. I'd stopped doing that really because I go to the gym at my work. I try to do that once a week, but I focus more on yoga.
Okay.
So I do a lot more Bikram, like hot yoga. So I try to do that twice a week. So if I can get my actual mileage in that I want to get in with the amount of time, plus do two sessions at Bikram, I'm pretty good.
So let me ask you this. This is from a personal question more than for the listeners. What's the benefit of yoga for ultra trail running, or distance trail running, or running? Running.
So for me, I think you're going to get your generic answer of flexibility and all that fun stuff. For me, it's mental.
Okay.
It puts me in a better mental state, and actually, it's hard to describe.
So more of a thought. What do they call that? Mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Okay.
And that's really an exercise of what will happen over 206 miles, to be kind of within yourself and not get ahead of yourself and just be where you are. So that's how it helps me. Okay. It's more of a mental thing. I really like it. And I like Bikram better than other styles of yoga, just because it's maybe my OCD or my desire for predictability. It's the same 26 poses, same order every time.
Okay.
So I like that. But for me, it's more mental. And that's kind of the decision I had to make between doing more Bikram and Bomber, because you have limits on time. Limits on time and money and what you want to spend your cross training or whatever. I can say that when I get done with a Bikram session, I'm as content and as at peace then it's the same feeling I get after you do a 25-mile run and everything was right.
Okay.
So for me, it's more mental.
Okay.
And that's with the 200-miler. I think it's going to be more mental.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, again, I can't speak on the subject, but people I've talked to, knowing what it takes into a 100-mile, it's just the mental game on a 200 has got to be absolutely insane. Because I always say, hundreds were the big thing, and people asking questions like, oh, just know you're going to have ups and downs. Like you're going to go through high spots, low spots. But then I think of 200, and the first thing that comes to mind is double everything, mileage. But I'm like, I don't think you could do that, because I know as I get later in a race, man, I might be lower more than I am higher. So 200 miles, I might just be 100 miles of feeling like a, I don't know,
absolute
a dingleberry.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know strategy-wise or whatever. Physically, is the kind of the Olympic style lifting that I usually did. Is that better than Bikram? I don't know, but all I know is it's what I wanted to do. Well,
if you run into Bigfoot at any point, the Olympic lifting might come in handy.
True.
Because
or we could just
or take some jerky. I've seen some documentaries
footage
from Jack Links or somebody.
Right.
There's some documentaries that if you give him jerky, you might be in good shape.
Right. If you don't, he will do bad things.
Yeah. Check Netflix for these documentaries.
Right.
I think that's
accurate.
Yeah. So speaking of we were talking about kind of the logistics part of it. Have you put any thought into your sleep plan?
A little bit more, yeah.
So I know you listen to the podcast.
Yes.
They have 6 sleep stations.
Yes.
Which is like a hostel, I'm imagining.
Right.
Outdoors.
Yeah. It's kind of a European hostel. Showers are optional.
Outdoor hostel.
Right.
What are your... I don't know. Have you thought much about it? I mean, I know it's difficult without doing one, or I think it'd be hard to predict. I think we had, I want to say Ben Knight or somebody we had on, and I apologize that they kind of had a plan on. They did some study on how long you should nap.
Oh Jesus,
and stuff like
I don't
that.
have that.
Okay, you might want to go listen to some
right.
more because it was pretty interesting. Like it seemed like he had it dialed. And he did the Triple Crown or whatever last year. So have you thought about the sleeping part?
I've thought of it a little bit, and I feel like I'm going to go into it with sleeping when I want to sleep.
Okay.
I don't think
schedule them.
I don't think I'll be able to schedule it.
Okay.
We'll just see how it goes. I mean, hopefully it times out to where I can feel like I can do sleep when you've got a sleep tent or whatever those things are. But I think I'll just probably try to sleep when I'm tired. And, with the 15-minute kind of bursts of sleep. Hopefully that helps. But again, I don't know if that's going to work or how that's going to feel. So,
because every time they talk about sleeping, I just think, to me, waking up from that sleep has got to be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be. Yeah, because I see
myself. You got 80 more miles, and you've been sleeping.
Great nap, little buddy.
And now you're
get going,
all sore, and tightened up, and the blood's going to go back down to your feet.
The idea of sleeping is intriguing. The idea of waking up is not. So we'll see. I mean, I know there's many times in 100 where you wish you could take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
And some people do, I think. But
I just did a 64K and really needed to take a nap at one point, so I couldn't imagine a 200.
We'll see. I don't know. I feel like if I were to plan it, like structure it, it would be kind of disingenuous because I feel like I'd be putting structure to something that I don't know
what you're doing,
what I'm getting into.
Because you could come into, okay, I'm going to nap here for 20 minutes. You might come into that. It's noon.
Yeah.
And you're like wide awake.
Yeah. So to me, it's like
forcible sleep.
Putting structure around something you don't. It's a moving target. I feel like is wasted energy.
Gotcha.
That's how I'm going to justify at least my kind of lack of plan on that. But not knowing how my body's going to react, we'll just see how it plays out.
So as we're talking here, and I've thought about this before, and this is so when I was between my junior and senior year of high school, we had my high school soccer coach who he's like, hey, we're gonna. What
was his last name?
Snelson.
So
it wasn't Martin or Fluman. Scott Snelson. He says, hey team, let's set the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest soccer game ever played.
Oh my God!
And we thought, okay, yeah, you're kind of an a-hole.
Yeah,
right?
let's do this.
What's the record? It's 74.5 hours of straight soccer.
That sounds horrible.
And now we all love soccer, so we said, yeah, let's do it. So we did a 24-hour day where we played 24 hours nonstop.
Is that a practice?
It was it was a practice
run.
Okay. But we were high school kids, so I was 17. So here's the rules. You could only no subs. You had 11 players on each team, no subs.
Could you sleep?
You could take a 5-minute break at the end of every hour, and you could bank it. So if you played 6 hours, you could take 30 minutes.
Oh my God!
So
how is this legal? Where were you at?
It was here in Roy.
This is like child abuse.
End of story. We set it at 75.5 hours, and I have the Guinness Book. We set it in 1989. But I remember that we did that one time only. We played 6 hours for a 30-minute nap.
Yeah.
And after that 30-minute, because you get 30 minutes. So
you were hating it, weren't you?
So it took you 5 to kind of get slumbery.
Right.
And then they had to wake you up at least 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
To get you ready to get out there.
Yeah.
So you really had like 15 minutes. And I'll tell you what, there was nothing worse than getting a 15-minute nap at 3 a.m. after 6 hours up on your feet because you didn't want to get up and move again. And
this is like cheerful. You're making me really excited about the whole sleeping thing.
Well, that's what you were talking when you were talking about the timing and getting up. I'm like, I remember this. And we had people hallucinating. I think each team finished with 9 people, so 2 off each team dropped.
Oh,
they
wow.
got disqualified.
That was legal? Did you still set it?
Yeah, one guy got pulled for medical reasons. His vitals got low.
Holy shit.
One guy thought he was getting chased by a dog, ran off the field, jumped a fence, right?
DQ'd immediately.
Yeah, he was gone immediately. We ended up setting it. We our goal was like 80, but 74.5 was the record. The camera crews, everybody showed up. We played one more hour and said, "We're done. This is stupid.
I would have a minute over. I've been done. Who the hell's going to go after it? Oh, they only set it by a minute.
From what I understand, it's not. So I've been looking at Guinness books and on the website, and I've written them, and I think they're in England.
You're
many
trying
times.
to confirm that you still have it.
Yeah, I'm like, what is it?
Did they give you a certificate?
Yeah, oh yeah, we've got all.
You
that.
got it framed?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Thank
we've
God.
got the certificate. I got the book we're in. We got a day in Utah. The mayor came out, so it was all cool. But I'm like,
that still doesn't seem worth it. But keep going.
So this was 1989 as well. So you got to remember there wasn't a lot of science like there is today. So we had a lady come in to teach us how to get into left and right brain to relax.
Oh my God!
Our nutrition plan was potato logs.
Still seems like child abuse.
It was raw potato logs. Whatever it was.
You did potatoes with the salt, didn't you?
They were raw.
Oh my God!
Gatorade, because we had there wasn't gels or electrolyte drinks.
Straight Gatorade.
Yeah, so that's what it reminds me of. Those I remember those times where I would just be pining. But again, we weren't on a trail; we were on grass, and I could look across and see my canopy with my sleep area.
Oh, that's like torture.
Yeah, and so it was safer than what you're doing. But again, that sleep thing, I just don't understand how someone can hit these aid stations, these sleep stations, sleep and get up and march on. I imagine, I don't know, I can't take a nap anyway.
Oh, I can nap the
I can't.
So
but
I
I just know I get groggy.
Yeah.
So I think to me that would be the hard part too. The mental side would be getting up from one of these naps and knowing I've got 80 more miles.
True.
And you're comfortable, right? You're laying there, you're sleeping, your feet are up. This is where I want to be. Oh, nope, get up. You've got 80 more miles or a day and a half, whatever that translates to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think mentally that would be just as hard as anything else for me.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful that that's kind of where the advantage of having crew and pacers is pretty tremendous as far as compared to if you did it by yourself or whatever. I mean, you guys talked about no crew, no pacer stuff a lot. But left to my own devices, I'd just say, I'd probably be sleeping longer than the 15 minutes or whatever the heck it is I'm going to allot to it.
Are you going to have a plan with your crew and pacers of, hey, don't let me do this? Because I do that with hundreds. I'm like, hey, make sure I don't stay too long. But, I mean, in a 200, it's almost like maximizing aid station time.
That's going to be, and it's funny you say that. I think it's going to be more of the opposite of where, because I have the tendency to rush through aid stations.
Yep.
And it's just an impossibility if that happens during this race.
It could ruin your race, right?
So it's going to be a little bit more the opposite approach. Maybe not with sleeping, but the instructions would be to make sure that I'm eating, to make sure that I've eaten a certain amount or gotten enough, whatever it is at that aid station. Because my tendency is to kind of get through there faster.
Yeah.
Than most people, I think.
Have you looked at, and I haven't, have you looked at the course at all to get an idea of how far apart the aid stations are? Is it pretty normal? Like,
I think
is it 5 to 7?
I think it's still long. I think it's longer than I've heard, even as much as 20 miles in between aid stations. So kind of making a mistake at that, even with a pacer or whatever it is, if you make a mistake and you've got 20 miles to go, or whatever it is, and you didn't either eat enough or pack enough or whatever it is.
With you, or clothing.
Yeah, or clothing. That's where I think you'll kind of pay for it.
Now, do you have to have a required list during the race?
I did look at that. I don't think it's a required, UTMB, DQ type thing. I know there's a recommended list of things.
Like space blanket matches.
Yeah. So I think I'll go through that list again, and I'll probably carry most of it, to be honest.
Just to be safe.
Yeah, and that's kind of I've had some close calls with hypothermia to where it scared me enough to always have my Gore-Tex, when if it's sketchy weather or whatever it is, and over 200 miles. I don't think a real weather forecast makes any difference. No. It could be any sort of weather.
Well, especially with the course we were talking about, ridge lines and woods and everything else, and you got to look at it too is. There comes a point where I know people want to travel light to go fast, but where you're not trying to go too fast, I don't think carrying an extra jacket is going to really hurt you.
No, and the one listening through Phil's again, he did mention, and I hope I might actually reach out to him. The carrying of water was a big thing, and he mentioned that he carried way too much water. So that to me is the one thing I got to kind of figure out. I have SteriPens and things like that'll filter water. So that's one of the main things I want to try to figure out at least is because that's a lot of weight.
The water's a lot of weight.
So hopefully I can get a good happy medium where I'm not carrying too much.
Well, after the show, we can go over Bigfoot calls.
There you go.
I kind of know how that works. I'm a Bigfoot fanatic. And that way, if you get too cold, if we can get you to do this, you get Snuggle Buddy.
I'd be fine for warmth.
You'd be Small Spoon.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, you'd be Small Spoon.
This is like a baby one.
Yeah.
Which would be fun to see, but, I want to see the big one, the real one.
Yeah, the real one.
Right.
Like
there's just one.
Like
there's just one, There's just one guy.
No, yeah, there's
many.
plenty more. They're just elusive. I mean, they don't believe in us. Just like, you know what I mean?
How would you feel if nobody believed in you?
That's
just terrible.
I would feel horrible.
Right.
It's like, you don't believe in me?
Yeah.
You say that to kids, I believe in you. What if you said, I don't believe in you?
I don't believe that you exist.
That would crush you.
That would.
I don't know. There can be skeptics, and I'm fine with that, but you're wrong. And a little side note, that world record game, I scored 33 goals.
Oh, my God, only 33?
Yeah. High goal score, I think, was 81.
Oh,
he
my
was
God.
cherry-picking the whole time.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Did you even try it? At some point, did you rotate in, goalies? Because goalies just going to stand there.
But that was the hardest job.
Oh, sure, you'd fall
because
asleep.
You get bored. We have video, tons of video of it.
Yeah. Well,
we had one girl. There was one girl, and you couldn't leave the field to use the bathroom either. There were porta-johns.
Me?
Yeah, if you had to go, you had to wait till there was the break.
Oh, I thought you were just going to go. Could you go on the field?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. There was, for well over a year, there was this huge dead spot of grass by one of the goals on the field.
That's
because
awesome.
That's where we would always go. So it was pretty legit. But, 33 goals. That was my highest scoring game.
I would hope so.
Ever.
Yeah.
Haven't come close to that yet.
No.
But so the Bigfoot 200, I mean, you feel pretty good going into it. I know you got, from between now, the last month, is there, what's your, obviously you're going to have to look at the course, actually.
Yes.
From what we talk about.
Yes.
But,
this is a theme of the second time we've talked, and each time I walk away thinking I should be doing more.
Probably check, what's that website again?
Yeah, is it Bigfoot.com?
But between now and then, because we're going to try and get at you before you leave, for Bigfoot. So it's like your final push, and then, of course, you want to get you after. But between now and the race, is there anything you want to focus on? Is there anything you want to mix up? Is there anything you want to make sure you get done beforehand?
The one thing that I think I'm not doing as well as I should be is carrying the amount of weight that I'll probably be carrying during the race.
Oh, that makes sense.
So mileage-wise, I've been doing pretty well, and climbing-wise, I need to have a focused effort on carrying more weight. And I've used my poles a couple times, but I need to get more diligent on carrying the weight and using poles. So I'll be using poles.
So you're going to be using two?
2 poles,
so you'll be bipolar?
Yes,
That's my inside joke right now.
Oh, my God.
You like that?
Yeah, it was nice.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So do you normally use poles?
For hundreds, I do.
Okay.
And ever since I started skiing, I've felt comfortable with poles.
Okay.
Prior to that, I didn't even know what to do with them.
Yeah,
didn't even make any sense.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So I will be using poles, and I actually like using poles.
Do you?
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing I need to focus on as far as what I haven't been doing as diligently as I should are poles and weight.
Okay.
Mainly because I'm very well heat trained, so my running has been kind of more during the day and not a whole lot at night. So with it being so hot, my tendency is not to carry as much.
Well, not only that, and one thing I've noticed as well, if you don't train with a vest with weight on your back during a race, you can get sore.
Yeah.
Your shoulders, between your shoulder blades. So over a longer haul, I imagine that would be pretty painful, like that cramping and being tight. Because I know even, when was it? I don't know. I ran a long run. I don't even know what it was. This was a while ago, but I used a vest and I hadn't been training in one.
Yeah.
My freaking shoulders were so sore during the run.
I'm trying to avoid that a little bit. So that's what I'll hopefully be focusing on. I'm hoping to get a couple 10 to 12 hour pushes with normal weight and poles, just to get ready for that.
So if you do a 10-hour push with weight and poles, are you going to be done and say, okay, if I repeat that 6 more times,
then I'm there? Yeah, that's the mental thing I don't want to actually go through and think about. Thank you for
that. Was a long day. Now if I do that 6 more times, that's my goal.
I appreciate that.
That's
awesome.
why we're here.
Yeah, bring me back.
I don't think you get a refund.
No, that's why I have to do it because I paid a lot of money.
Yeah. But I think if you eliminate some of those, there's things you can control, there's things you can't control. So I think if you eliminate some of those, like you mentioned before, training with a heavy pack, figuring out better how much water to take. If you eliminate some of the I don't want to say easier ones. That sounds really bad, but that's what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Some of the mistakes you could not think about, because there's things you can't put in, like all the stream crossings with your feet, right? Your feet you just got to imagine your feet will probably be wet for 200 miles.
Yep.
Other than when you change fresh and then you get wet again. So,
yeah. It's like San Juan solstice.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they said with Walmsley. He hated with wet feet. That's why he did so poorly sometimes at Western.
And I haven't had a whole lot of issues with that. And I actually, when I first started ultra running, I would get my feet wet and purposely run with wet feet.
I was also the opposite.
To get my feet used to it. So I'm not totally concerned about that. But I'm just trying to check the boxes on some things that I at least can, as far as the pack and poles, to where I'm good enough with them that I can't kind of use that as, well, I wish I would have done that a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing, is if you kind of eliminate some of those, then you're going to get to a point where it's either going to be, I never thought of that because you have no reason to, or, I couldn't control that anyway. Yeah. Because I keep going back to Sylvia Greer. This is the one I hope you listen to her podcast, because she was talking about this race. She went through a creek very early on, and she said they're so different from the creeks around here. It was silt, and she couldn't get it out, and it ruined her feet. I mean, she obviously did well, but I think I keep thinking, man, everybody listens to that, just because I would have never thought of that.
No, I wouldn't have thought of it either.
It's like silt. I could imagine, like right now I got no shoes on, but my feet are itching.
Yeah.
Right? Like, silt.
Bugs crawling on you.
Bugger. So, I think if you eliminate some of those, again, easier ones, and any race, you just got to say, well, I couldn't control that. That's just the way it goes, whether it's weather or whatever.
And that distance is, I just think and that's going back to the adventure side of it, that's kind of what you got to expect. There's going to be a lot of things that I'm not going to be able to plan for. So hopefully my plan is to check the boxes on the things that I can think of. And if it's something out of my control, hopefully have the mindfulness or whatever you want to say to be able to handle it.
Just stop on the side of the trail, do some downward dog, get back into your
that's a popular thing on Instagram with the yoga poses and whatnot, I think.
Oh, just taking pictures of yoga poses?
Right.
That's my problem with...
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to absolutely set up... It's 200 miles. Think of how many I don't know how you do it, but think of how many poses I can set up when I set up my timer on my phone. How many sweet shots I'm going to get.
Just add 10 hours to your finish time.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to run faster so I can do that.
So I've got aid station time, selfie time, and run time.
Right. I will absolutely. If I start doing that, you'll know something's...
I'll fly up there.
Something is wrong.
And smack the shit out of you.
I'm hallucinating and something's going wrong. But 10 hours of setup time for those just natural shots we'll get.
It is so crazy you say this. Just today, I was recovering from my race. I'm watching World Cup, pulled up my phone.
There you go.
Checked out some InstaKitty, and was noticing more than ever all of the, I would say, planned poses.
Well, here, we can get into this. Could be an older podcast. I could probably alienate myself from a lot of people.
It kind of drove me nuts.
Well, it should.
I'm like,
that's
so...
Here's what I think about it. And I have a following of Instagram of literally 32 people. So I'm pretty big on it.
You're pretty hot right now.
Yeah, it went viral. If I get 10 likes, it's gone viral. When I think of stuff like that, and that we could go down some rabbit holes, I think of when I think of social media, I think of it as a kind of a cool way to document where I've been. And that's kind of it. So I think of what would I want to see of the photos that I took? Do I want to see myself? No. I want to see, I went to that place, and that was a cool view. So that's why I don't see the point of that, because I don't want to see myself.
I'm very minimal. I've said that on the show. I've been accused many times of not taking selfies. Like, how come you're in none of the photos?
Well,
I will. I'll make an appearance, but mine are usually, I like to do silly stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just... not really planned, but just in the moment, like a dumb face or a dumb something. Yeah. But I don't really pose. I don't know how to work a timer on anything.
I would not know how to do that.
Yeah, so it's usually, can you take this while I do something so they blow my nose, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I see all these professional pose people, I don't. I'm more with you. I try and figure out, and it's for everybody, and I'm not the rule on it. But I always think to myself, what's the true nature of when it launched of social media? right? Because you saw Facebook commercials, oh, sorry we did this and we invaded this. It was meant to share, and that's what I think more of is share with your people that you're friends with, right, or family, which is, like you said, hey, check where we're at, or even of, like, my daughter doing something cool. It's my kid, right? I'm proud of, but I rarely take myself, and it is not posed. I'll pose a beer, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
If it's a good beer, I'll pose that.
Standing still. It's a little easier to catch.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really move.
Right.
You know, I don't take it up in the mountains, and it's usually on my kitchen table.
Right.
And try to get the right lighting. But yeah, I struggle with this more than ever is the pose. And I guess people have a lot of followers. I guess that's what it's for. They get a lot of ambassador deals through companies.
And I guarantee, I'm sure there's reasons for it, and it can be probably lucrative to people.
For sure.
And that's it. I'm not going to dog on people for doing whatever they want to do on social media. That's fine.
Well, that's what it is, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's whatever
you want to do with it.
And you don't like it, don't follow them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, I'm not going to judge anyone or think any differently of anybody on what they do on social media. It's their own choice. For me, it's just I've always thought of it as a way to an easy way to document like one or two photos of, hey, I was there, and maybe I can look back on that later and remember where I was.
My favorite, and I've posted this on a private page that you're a part of, is the fails.
Oh,
like the when they try to do these like selfie or pose things and it doesn't quite work out how they want.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I could watch those for days.
Yeah.
Because
you get sucked in.
As long as no one gets hurt. Like I still wouldn't want anybody to get hurt, even though it's funny. But yeah, like the one I just saw was a girl trying to do like a back bend on a log and fell into the river.
Yeah.
I giggled, and I hope she was okay. If you're out there, I know you're not listening to the show, but I hope you're okay because I don't want to see people get hurt. But those are cracking me up when they don't work out.
No, that's funny.
Because it's like, how many shots did that person take to get the shot they posted?
You'll never know.
Because I've taken sunset photos, right?
Yeah.
And I get 1 out of 10, so I can only imagine if.
It's an art form.
I know we just went off on a tangent, but it just totally reminded me, and that's what we do. So
I don't know how we got there, but we went there.
Somewhere. But what we're going to do is we're going to get you on one more time, but we're going to do something fun, and this is for our listeners. So if you've got a question between now and I think near the end of July, so it's almost a full month, and I'll even put this on our social media accounts, minus a post photo. If you have a question for Harrison on the 200-mile, what he's doing, whether it's his training, whether it's his anything that has to do with the Bigfoot 200, shoot it over to me, manners@trailmanners.com, because the next podcast we're going to have him answer listeners' questions. So these aren't going to be from me. Some will, because I'll still have more. But if somebody chimes in and say, hey, ask him this question. What's his favorite gin? What's his plan for this? Just go ahead and email those to me, and the next time we have him on,
what's the best Pearl Jam show you've ever been to?
Yeah, which is a Pearl Jam fanatic.
Yeah.
So we'll ask you those, and again, we'll be right close to it, so you might have a better layout of the course.
Right. You could provide me some information as to what.
It's in Washington.
If you want to tell me what I should know,
I'll bring something.
You'll probably
to the
know
table.
more than I do at this point.
I'll bring something else. So what are you going to do with a Click-O-Mat aid station? Or whatever?
My God!
I looked at a few of the aid stations.
That's good because I was listening to Phil's podcast and he knew all the aid. I don't know how. There's a lot of aid stations. I don't know how you know that.
There's like what?
You said 13 or something?
Yeah, there were 6 sleep stations and 14 full aid. So I don't know if there's 20 or if that 6 is part of the 14. Or what it is, but
we'll know. I will know by the next time.
Well, you need to because you're going to need to know what to carry between, like, if there's 5 miles between aid station or, like you said, the 20-miler. You're going to need to be locked and loaded for that. You hate to leave and say, "Oh, this was the 20-mile. I should have brought my pack."
I promise you, I will actually have some sort of chart that shows all that.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to have you on again near the end of July, first part of August, because you leave on the 8th, 7th or 8th.
8th. Yep.
So we'll have you on before that. And then right when you get back, we'll get your take on the Pearl Jam concert, the Jack White concert, as well as, I guess, the race that you completed.
We'll talk about that a little bit,
We'll do that. So, all right, thanks again for having us on. Thanks for feeding me some drinks while we're at it. And, we'll catch up to you. I mean, we'll be down at Hard Rock hanging out, so you'll probably be on another podcast before then, guest.
It'll be fun.
Of some sort around the campfire. But, we'll have you on again. So thanks again, and good luck with your training.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Trail Manners podcast. We'd like to thank Harrison Fluman for joining us again today and wish him nothing but the best of luck for the training in the upcoming race of the Bigfoot 200. We also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Trail Manners, or swing by the website at trailmanners.com. There, you can check out our store page and hit us up for some cool gear, or send us a message in case you want to be on the show, or if you have a topic you want us to discuss. So until next time, this is Eric Manning reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, You get what you work for. Now go get it.